Assalamu alaikum dear audience, welcome back to another YouTube tutorial from Naeem Bukhari YouTube channel. So today I have very interesting topic which is regarding can we trust upon scientists. This is not actually a topic, this is also an open discussion where you can even give your feedback in comment box as well. So we will discuss can we trust upon scientists or not, if we should trust upon scientists, so how we can trust upon the scientists, what are the factors which moves us to believe like we should trust upon the scientists, what are their contributions, what are the potential aspects we consider and then we should trust upon the scientists. So we will discuss in detail. Moving forward, if you are new upon my channel, so you can like my video and subscribe the channel to hear more about the videos. You can also press the bell icon. Okay, we need to understand the retraction and retraction index. So retraction actually means retracting a published publication from a research journal or from a research group. Means either you published a research article which was reporting some novel contributions and you discovered something and you published that one, and after that once it was evaluated by the scientific committee or after certain time interval or after a period of years, it was proved that your outcomes were not valid for long time, your outcomes were rejected by the scientific community after conducting the same experiments which you conducted and you provided or you shared your outcomes. So then your article will be retracted, your article will bounce back and your article will be removed from a research group or research journal. So why retraction occurs, what are the major factors or guidelines which we can opt to overcome the retraction, we will discuss. First, over here you can see, okay, let me show you. Like here, editors should consider retraction a publication when they have evidence that the findings are unreliable. Means if there are findings which are unreliable which you are reporting in your research articles, so at that time the research editors or the journal editors which are considering your research, if they feel or they consider you are reporting something novel and that cannot be proved by experiment or by doing the same experiment which you have done in previous research or in your research, that cannot be proved by doing the same research, so at that times editor should reject your publication or they should not consider your publication for publishing. Okay, similarly if the editors feel there is some results of misconduct, yeah, I think there is some data fabrications or there is some honest error, then your article will be retracted, your article will be not published. Okay, the finding have been published elsewhere without cross-referencing permission or justification. Another reason your article will get rejected, like your outcomes are already published in someone other articles, but you did not quoted the references of those articles which are reporting the same kind of outcomes. So there is another case where your publication will be retracted or bounced back. Another thing, it constitutes plagiarism or report unethical research. If your outcomes are plagiarized, means this does not mean the wordy plagiarism. The plagiarism means the idea is plagiarized. The idea which you are proposing or which you are disclosing in your research article, that idea is actually means given by someone other scientist or which is previously published and you did not quoted those references. This is also considered as unethical research and will be considered in the domain of plagiarized content because you just stolen the idea of a research, okay, and you did not acknowledge that research idea in your research publication. So this is another case where your publication will be retracted or your research article will not be considered as a valuable publication for a longer time. Okay, retraction. So first we should know like what is retraction. We should also explain it. Retraction is a mechanism for correcting the literature and altering readers to publication that contains such seriously flawed or erroneous data that their findings cannot be relied upon. means if you published a research and you are reporting some novel or beneficial or some, we can say, promising outcomes, but that outcomes are not supported by the literature, okay, or that outcomes cannot be generated by revising those experiments which you performed, then we can say your article will be retracted, your outcomes will be rejected. Okay, similarly, if your data is flawed, means there is error in your data and you are just going for the data fabrication, then we cannot rely upon your data and your outcomes will be rejected. Okay, similarly, the main purpose of retraction is to correct the literature and ensure its integrity rather than to punish authors who misbehave. The most important aspect which usually scientific community do not follow is that if there is some wrong data you reported in your research and that data was published somewhere, so what scientific community actually does, community actually puts some restrictions or allegations on researcher. Either he reported we can say malfunction data, or he reported a fabricated data, or the data he reported is not authentic, and usually scientific community blame that researcher, but they do not correct that research literature. So the most important thing to overcome retraction or to remove the retraction from research or from the reported research is just that, to correct the research later. Means if there were fabricated outcomes reported by a particular researcher, in response to that one you can conduct a similar kind of research to just correct the research literature. Okay, that is the best strategies to respond a particular retraction in a research. Perfect. I hope you people got the idea what is retraction and how retraction can be removed and what are the major domains of retractions and when retraction occurs. I explained all these things. Further moving forward, what is the retraction index? We will also discuss over here. This is actually a graph which belongs from different research literature and from different research journals. So once we rank very important impact factor research articles or research journals, then we can imagine means what is the retraction index reported from a particular research group or research journal. Means if we focus upon Lancet group of research journals, so then we can say what is the retraction index of a Lancet based research journals. So this is a graph of retraction index which we calculated from starting from 2001 to 2010, and this is a report of retraction index from Feng Casdewell, infectious disease and immunological responses from 2011. This is actually a report which we are going to present over here. So from here you can see the impact factor starts over y-axis. Okay, the impact factor over here will be 5 impact factor research journals, okay, like PNAS research group of research journals, further Journal of Immunological Studies. These are the research journal which lies in the 5 impact factor domain. Further there are research journals who lies in the 10 impact factor domain like EMBOJ, okay, right. Further there are some journals who lies in 10 to 20 impact factor journal like Journal of Experimental Medical Sciences or Medicine, Journal of Experimental Medicines. Similarly the impact factor rises over here 20, 30, 40 and 50 and 60, and over here is retraction index. Means if impact factor is increased, the retraction index is also increased. If there are some research journals whose impact factor is higher, over there the retraction index also gets higher or increases. The reason is that the research journals which belongs to high impact factor range, though there will be chances of high impact factor research journals, they will be publishing some novel outcomes, but those outcomes cannot be proved or revised by doing same experiment. So that's the reason, that's the major we can say etiology, or that's are the major factors. The retraction index increases with the increase in impact factor. Here you can see there are a Nature group of research journals and they have impact factor in the range of 40. Okay, so if the research journal have 40 impact factor, their retraction index will be increased. Over here it will be in the range of 2 into 3. Okay, similarly, there is a research journal whose impact factor lies in the 25 to 26, we can say, or 27 impact factor, like Cell, Science. These are some research journals. So, but their retraction index is higher, means the research articles published in high impact factor research journals have high retraction index. The research article will be retracted, bounce back. The research articles will be rejected after the publications. Means retraction means once your article got accepted in a particular high impact factor journal, and after the publication of that article, your article was considered or proved as fabricated, and that was rejected. This is actually a retraction index. And the research journals which have higher retraction index, the higher impact factor, their retraction index will be higher. And similarly, there are research journals who lies or ranges in the 50 impact factor, so their retraction index is reported very high. So this was all about retraction index. So let's come to the major point which we actually want to address in this lecture, is like, can we trust upon scientists? In this lecture, I explained to you, means there are high impact factor research journals which are reporting some very promising outcomes, but after reporting some promising outcomes, their retraction index is higher, means those outcomes are considered fabricated, or those outcomes are rejected after certain time interval. So then why we can or how we can believe upon those high impact factor research journals? Because they are most of the research articles from there are considered fabricated or rejected even after the publication. Then how we can trust upon the scientists who published these flawed research outcomes? So what is the possibility? How we can trust upon those scientists? So here I will explain, or I will share a comprehensive analysis from America. In America, how much people trust upon scientists, and what is the ratio of people who actually trust upon the scientists and the outcomes reported by the scientists. So let's stay tuned. So here we goes. Here I explain, I move towards the retraction index. Starting from here, can we trust upon scientists? So moving forward, here you can see a comprehensive analysis from American people. Okay, how American people perceive or how American people trust upon the scientists. So what is the probability, or what is the ratio? So see over here, a comprehensive analysis. In America or US citizen, actually 33% people trust upon the military. Means if there are some hospital which are operated under the military, most of the American, means 33% American trust, like if there will be research outcomes or scientists who are serving in a military, if they are reporting some outcomes, that are considered much more trusted in America. Further, 46% American considered like the reported outcomes from the military based scientists are somehow fair. Okay, the outcomes are considered fair. Similarly, not too much, means 15% American only considered like they are insufficient, to whom we can trust. Okay, similarly 5% Americans have no confidence to declare like the military based scientists or researchers are reporting some potential outcomes or not, or can they trust upon the military scientists? Only 5% Americans are not sure, or they don't have confidence to declare that one. Either they trust upon military scientists or the private sector scientists. Okay. Similarly, only 21% Americans trust upon the institutional scientists, or the scientists who are serving in educational institutes or in the government sector. Okay. And including government sector as well as in the private sector. Similarly, 55% Americans consider like the educational or institutional scientists are somehow reporting fair outcomes. Okay. 18% American considers like educational scientists are not, we can say, not able to report some promising outcomes in terms of scientific contributions. Similarly, 4% Americans are not sure, and they don't have confidence to consider either institutional scientists are performing well or the military scientists are performing well. They are not sure about that one. So K-12 principals and superintendents means what are the contribution of superintendents or in a discovery or in we can say discovering something or in a discovering a particular drug. So only 13% American trust upon principals and or principal investigators or superintendents or project leaders, and 53% American consider like this is affair, means the principal investigators or project leaders are actually contributing a lot in a scientific community, and we should trust upon the outcomes the principal research investigator are reporting. 27% consider like the principal investigator or researcher are not reporting sufficient outcomes to whom we can trust upon. Similarly, only 7% Americans are not sure like the principal research investigators or project leaders either they are performing well in terms of scientific contributions or not. Similarly, if we consider or rank religious leader, 13% American believe like religious leaders are giving some potential ideas which we can opt or which are more important rather than scientific outcomes to treat or to overcome a particular problem in the society. And 39% Americans consider like the religious scientists or religious scholars can be considered a best choice. Only 39% means the ratio decreases or declines from starting from 46% over here it's increased, and over here 53% and 39 means only 39% people in America believe like religious leaders or scholars are a good source of scientific contributions or scientific knowledge contribution. All 32% are considered like religious scholars are not providing or contributing sufficient. Similarly, the news media, 5% Americans only trust upon the news media. From here you can imagine means the level of Americans understandings in terms of scientific contributions. The news could be fake, so most of the time Americans do not believe upon the news which are reporting regarding scientific discoveries. Okay, 33% consider like news are a fair source where they can get to know about the scientific contributions. Business leader only 4% and elected officials 3%. Means this graph actually tells us how Americans relatively believe upon the military scientists or institutional scientists or research investigators or principal research investigators or project leaders, religious leaders in terms of scientific contributions, this media, the news media, and the business leaders, and similarly the elected officials or the government officials and their contributions in terms of scientific discoveries or innovations. So this tells us Americans or I will conclude, so American people actually more trust upon the military scientists in terms of scientific contribution or discoveries. So that was all about either we can trust upon scientists or not. So this was actually a ratio based on American we can say proportions or American research. So you can imagine or you can study or explore in on the behalf of your own countries either this what is the variation or what is the status variation in terms of your country. Like in Pakistan, either people are more believing upon military scientists or they are believing upon educational or institutional scientists or principal research investigators or religious scholars or news media or business leaders or elected officials. So in terms of Pakistan, if I will suggest, so I will say most of the Pakistani people who are believing upon the research we can say research contributions, so most of the Pakistani believe upon the principal research investigators as in comparison to military or scientists. Most of the Pakistani believe like principal research investigators are actually the heroes who are contributing in scientific discoveries, or we can trust upon the principal research investigators. We cannot trust upon the military based research scientists or the institutional scientists in relative proportion or in relative comparison to principal research investigators. So if you have any questions, if you want to further comment on this discussion, you are more than welcome. Stay tuned. Allah Hafiz. So don't forget to like and subscribe my channel. Allah Hafiz.